Hello and welcome to Fox Comics and Games in beautiful downtown Marion, Illinois, and we're unboxing today's new comic book order from Diamond Comics, and these comics will go on sale Wednesday, March 28th, so you can look for them to be in the store at that time. Shadow Man, obviously, because that #1 hits tomorrow, and we're excited about that. And as we are some of the other items that we've gotten in, these are some of the Power Ranger items. There's a big Poly Ranger that hits this week, and part of that is some Power Rangers accoutrement, and this is one of their swords and power staffs, and then the Green Ranger helmet, which is pretty cool. And then we have the Zeo Zeonizer, and that's from the Legacy collection there. On to the comic books, and we start off this week's order with Avengers from Marvel, issue 686 of Avengers, and this is issue 12 of the No Surrender arc that they've been doing. Next up from DC, we have Batgirl, issue 21. And as we always do, we'll try to show you some of the variant covers that are available at beautiful Fox Comics and Games. Next up, we have from DC also Batman Beyond, issue 18. And again, that's for those who are so inclined, that's the variant cover on that. And then next up from Image Comics, one of Mr. Fox's favorite publishers, we have issue 2 of The Beef. And kind of a wild tale there. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 16 of Ben Reilly, The Scarlet Spider. And then from Image, we have issue 11 of Greg Rucka's Black Magic, really nicely done book, very interesting. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 171 of Black Panther. I think that movie's out, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's any good or not, but I think that movie's out. Then from Titan Comics, based on the video game of the same name, Bloodborne, issue 2, has been very well received in the store. People really enjoyed issue 1. Next up from Marvel is issue 18 of Champions, because the world still needs heroes. And then next up we have from Marvel, Damnation, Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, #1. Pretty wicked looking cover there. Also from Marvel, we have a milestone issue, issue 600 of Daredevil. And you would have thought they'd have put Ben Affleck on the front cover, kind of a celebration of the best Daredevil in the movies, but that's just Mr. Fox. Next up from DC, and quite excitedly so, Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's masterwork, Dark Knight's Metal, issue 6. Gorgeous cover on that. And then here's some of the variant covers that are available. We have a whole myriad of variant covers. I won't bore you with all of them, but I did pull 3 or 4 of some of the better looking covers that are out there. This one in particular I just thought was really, really cool. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 297 of The Despicable Deadpool. And then from DC, once again, we have issue 977 of Batman Detective Comics. And again, that's the variant cover, and that's pretty cool with all the laser sights pointed on Batman. That's pretty wicked. While we're staying with the wonderful work that DC's currently doing, I would be remiss if we did not get in 60 or 70 Doomsday Clock #4. And that is by far the best cover this week. It was not much of a race when you have that Rorschach image on the pancakes. I thought that was just phenomenal. And then this is what the variant cover for that looks like. Then next up from DC, we have issue 43 of The Flash, part of the Perfect Storm series. And then that is issue 43, The Flash, variant cover there. And then for people who like Dynamite Publishing, we have George R.R. Martin's A Clash of Titans, A Song of Ice and Fire, book 2, and that is issue 9. So if you're into Game of Thrones, there you are. There is some Game of Thrones for you. Next up from IDW, the kids are very excited about this. Goosebumps, Download and Die, issue 1. Lots of youngsters really looking forward to getting that, and I think that looks pretty cool. Next up from DC, issue 12 of Gotham City Garage. Pretty cool. Variant covers available on that as well. I did not pull any for this video. DC also has issue 41 of Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. Issue 41 there. And then that's what the variant cover looks like for issue 41. And then next up, also from DC, we have issue 20 of Hellblazer. And then the Hellblazer issue 20 variant cover right there. Next up, and a gorgeous comic, if I might add, larger than standard format from IDW, is a beautiful comic, issue 2 of The Highest House. And that's give you an idea of some of the artwork on the inside. Very well done, beautiful book, very popular here at the store. Then from Mark Millar and Image Publishing, we have issue 2 of Hit Girl. And that's obviously very popular right now. Then from Burger Books, an imprint of Dark Horse, we have Anthony Bourdain, the chef, his book Hungry Ghosts, and that is issue 3, and I think that's a 4 comic run, so we still have a couple of the some previous ones. You can still come in and get in on that. Very, very good. Next up from Marvel, we have The Invincible Iron Man, issue 598. Why Brian Michael Bendis is still writing for Marvel. And speaking of Brian Michael Bendis writing for Marvel, we have issue 18 of Jessica Jones. Then next up from Archaia Publishing, we have Jim Henson's Labyrinth Coronation, number 2. Again, beautiful art, great story, really, really wonderful property. You might want to check that out if you're looking for something different. Also, speaking of something different, we have from Aftershock Comics, issue number 7 of Jimmy's Bastards. If you've ever wondered about all the illegitimate children that James Bond's had, there you go. We explore it there. Next up from DC, we have issue 27 of the Justice League of America. And that is that's the variant cover, and I just thought that was kind of cool, the way he was warping Batman's head. And there's the regular cover. Next up from Dynamite, issue 2 of Kiss and the Army of Darkness, for those of you that are so inclined. Next up from Marvel, issue 3 of Legion. Much better than their comic Legion, which had to do with like sores appearing on different parts of your body, which that was not a good comic at all. DC brings us issue 2 of Mira, Queen of Atlantis. And next up is one of the more exciting releases this week from Boom Studios. It is a black polybag, so you don't know what cover you're getting, of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 25. So we have a bunch of those, and then we also have some of the variants that were available. And some of these are like 1 per store and very tightly done, but really, really nice variants, as you can see. All of them really, really well done. We're excited about that release, and so are the customers. Next up from Marvel, Moon Knight, issue 193. And then we also have from Marvel, issue 3 of Old Man Hawkeye. And that is not to be confused with another Marvel title, issue 37 of Old Man Logan. A lot of old men here besides Mr. Fox. Next up, we have issue 302 of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And that is a great classic cover with the Green Goblin on there. Kind of harkens back to the late 70s, early 80s. Next up from Image Publishing, we have Redneck, issue 11. Surprisingly popular here in Southern Illinois, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All right. Next up, we have from Oni Press, Rick and Morty. And that is issue 36 of Rick and Morty. And speaking of milestone issues, one of Mr. Fox's, and I think one of the most popular comics out there going currently that's still running, is Image Publishing's Saga. Hats off to Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. That's issue 50, and that has summarily been probably one of the greatest comic runs I've ever seen in my life. If you haven't been reading it, do yourself a favor and grab it. You can get the trade paperbacks very affordably and get caught up, but it's issue 50. I think there's 7 trade paperbacks if I'm not mistaken. Another big watershed week moment for us and for Valiant Publishing, who is kicking tail right now in terms of the writing. Their writing's phenomenal. Shadow Man #1, highly anticipated by Andy Diggle. That is the pre-order edition cover, and it has additional content besides the regular comic. You get additional content, about 10-20 pages of additional content, and then that is the standard. That's what you're going to see in most shops that are a little bit less hip than Fox's. That's the standard Shadow Man #1. Then up from DC, and that will kick tail. Get them while they're hot, because that'll be huge. Next up from DC, we have issue 3 of The Silencer. I think that must be written about Mrs. Fox, because I think there's something about silent but deadly or something with Mrs. Fox, but that's another story. Next up from Marvel, we have issue 30 of Spider-Man vs. Deadpool. And Diamond Comics, we cannot thank you enough. We were shorted this last time, and they got it refilled us very quickly. SpongeBob #78. From Here to Infinity Teeth. I think that's just hysterical. All right, next up from Marvel, we have Star Wars Dr. Aphra. It's being written currently by Kieran Gillen, and very much worth the read. Very solid book. Next up from DC, Suicide Squad, issue 38. And then to give you an idea of how cool their variant cover was for that, that's the variant cover. And then next up from DC also is Teen Titans, issue 18. And then a peek at the issue 18 Teen Titans variant cover there. Next up from DC as well is issue 2 of the Terrifics. And then we have issue 80 of the ongoing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. DC offers up issue 20 of Trinity, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. And that's the standard cover, and then there's the variant cover on that. Also from DC, one of Mr. Fox's favorite comics, Wonder Woman, issue 43. And here's the fantastic variant cover for issue 43 of Wonder Woman. Exo Man of War, issue 13. Again, there's the pre-order bundle. That comic comes with additional content besides the normal comic, and it's the same price as the normal comic. And then we have the standard cover for those that prefer those. We were shorted the X-Men Blue comic for this week, and we have them already being packed and loaded. They should be showing up next week, I believe, from Diamond Comics. They shorted us the X-Men Blue that's supposed to be out tomorrow. Some of the trade papers that came in this week, The Realm from Image Publishing, and then from Avatar, the reorder for Garth Ennis's Caliban, which seems to be doing very, very, very well in our store here recently. And then another one that we're quite excited about, the second of the Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo series, and this has 4, 5, and 6. You'll remember last week's video had 1, 2, and 3, so they're staggering them out, giving you a chance to enjoy them all. That's the order of comics today, and they'll be out on Wednesday, March 28th for sale, and we hope to see you here at Fox Comics and Games in beautiful downtown Marion, Illinois.